Here is your pattern in a nutshell. It goes through MySQL with using Workbench to create databases, as well as to connect to it from NetBeans. I'm going to start from the beginning and work my way on. To do this, I'm going to create a tuck shop system, and I'll give a basic explanation: sell and take sell product. Woohoo! 2 pupils. Now, okay, what if I could type correctly? Alright, I've got half an hour to do this, so let's just work with this. First thing you're going to have to do is, when you're coming up with your plan, you need to come up with a good class relationship sense. So in this, if we were selling products to clients at a tuck shop, that is my base sentence. I need to identify the entities, and I think a lot of pupils don't identify their entities correctly. In this case, I'm going to have a product, and I'll go into details of that just now. I'm going to put this into a table to make my life easier later. So insert table, fail. Let's do this in Excel, it'll be easier. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to have my product, and my product will have things like the name of the product, the price of the product, the stock that we have of the product. That's about it. You can leave it at that. I'm just keeping this quite a simple program. The next item that you would have there is you would have your clients. The client would have a unique ID, so I'm just going to put their client C underscore ID. Not going to make it too complicated. You would just have a name, whatever else. I'm going to leave it at that though, because I don't really care about making it completely functional as you guys would need to, because this is done in 30 minutes. Clients, and then we would have sales. Now the sales would have a sales ID, it would have the client underscore FK, it would have the product, which would obviously refer to the primary keys, FK, and it would have the actual quantity. Okay, so we're wanting to create a system that will keep track of all the products, clients, and the sales that will there occur. Now, you could work from this in different ways. One way you could do it is that as soon as the client comes to your store, they would swipe their card, they would log them in, and then it would load the sales, etc., of that client and the product of that client, so get the information from there. So products you could immediately read into the array. When the client swipes his ID, it would then read into the system all of the sales that he's got. For example, we could also have here current balance, and then you'd have a system to also increase the balance of that client. So if the guy gave across cash or transferred money, etc., you could increase the client's balance. So you could work on it in different ways on how you read everything into the system. I would suggest you can look at it like that. So if we were to now create our class diagram, we would know we would have a product class, which would have name, price, stock. We would have a client class. Now our client class would have C underscore ID, it would have name and balance. It would then have an array of sales. Because I chose that a single client would log on, that it could actually be sale because this represents a single sale. This would be an array of sales of sale data type called sales. This would be an integer, this would be a string, and this would be an integer as well. And you would do the same thing for product. Now, as far as I chose to create the link between clients and sales, that was my choice. And that was in my planning. I could have made it so the link worked elsewhere, but you need to make a call where you will make the link. So the sale class would have SID, the client actually doesn't need client FK because this client would have the array of the signs. It would have product FK, and it would have quantity. So this would just be a list of sales that's taken place, so you can keep track of the record. This would be an integer, this would be a string, this is referring to the product, which is a name, field is a primary key, so again, I know, and this would be an integer field, and the same thing would happen there. So we've got the structure here, but now we would need the actual tuck shop, so the tuck manager. And now in the tuck manager, we would have an array of products, because we are as soon as we run the program, it would load into RAM my products. When you swap, it would load in a single client, so we would have a product array called products, and this would contain every single product that the person could buy. So I chose what I wanted to load into RAM based on my system. I would then want a singular client, and that would be the person who would log in. I'm doing the data types the different way around here, so excuse me. Here it's name data type, here it's data type name. As long as you keep the standard, like me changing it, it's fine. Okay, so this is my system. I've planned my system. I now know what I'm going to do, and this will then read into here. In my user interface, I would then need to use methods in my tuck manager to be able to receive, like for example, a list of all the products. So you would have methods like get products, which would return a string array, for example, of all the names of all products available, and so forth. So you'd have a whole bunch of different methods to allow different user interface. So like when you would swap your client's ID, you would have a load client method here, so it would load that client who you need to now work with, and that would load the sales into his array, etc. I would, for example, load the sales from the constructor of the clients, and the constructor of the clients I would then retrieve from the database the information from there, etc. And I'm going to now go through this now. So far 5 minutes down, 25 minutes to go. Let's get going. Alright, so we've planned our system. We've got our database storage, we've got the way our class structure is going to work, we've got the clients having the array of sales, we've got our tuck manager having the array of products, and it would load the clients. So we've got a way in which our system is going to work. Now the next step of the system is we are going to create our database, and this is where I get into teaching you a bit about your workbench. Now your workbench would be installed from a developer side, and from a developer side it would create a local instance. You could have multiple different connections. For example, you can open up a connection to a online MySQL server, or for example one that's inside your network, whichever. In this case, on a developer machine, the local instance, in other words the computer you're working on, also acts like the server. So you would click on this. Don't go file new, don't go anywhere else. You first need to choose on which server you are working with, and this connection here is the server you work with. It would open up a tab here at the top, and that will be the connection you are working with. You are then going to create a new schema. To do this, you click on this one that looks like a new database at the top here. I'm hoping you can all see that fine. Maybe I should turn on my magnifier to help you with this. You'll see where it pops up. Alright, anyway, so on the nice. Okay, so you'll see here on the top here, okay, this is not going to go well, there's a plus sign for the database. I don't like this. I'm going to close this magnifier, it doesn't seem to work so nicely. Alright, so on this thing, you'll see that you can either go file, new schema. A schema is the same as a database. It's kind of the similar thing in my workbench and MySQL. It works as a schema. So if we click on schema, we're going to call this schema tuck shop. Everything in MySQL is kept small case, so don't worry about putting anything into capital letters, just leave everything small case. Okay, so I've got a schema. You click on the refresh button here under schemas on the left hand side, and you'll see there that now there's a schema that says tuck shop. So in my tuck shop, I double click on the left hand side, and the table, the items will be available for you there. In that, you're going to click on tables. So you're going to right click on tables. So you browse for your schema, right click on tables, go create table. I'm going to create a table called, the first table I want to create is my product table, like I put in my Excel spreadsheet. So I'm going to actually minimize, damn it, I'm going to run out of time if I carry on like this. I'm going to minimize this so that it's just going to take up the top of the screen, and then I'll put my Excel spreadsheet below it so I can work from the same structures. You guys, from your design document, you could do the same. You would have already designed your tables, etc. Although I do think some of you needed a bit of work on that. So if I take a look at my product table, it's got name, price, and stock. So what I'm going to do is inside my product table, Okay, this doesn't work so well because this output tab takes up the whole screen. Okay, so we're going to create a name, which will be a text field, which is a varchar size, whatever size you want to make it. PK means primary key, NN means not null, AI would mean auto increment. And the next step we want to do is we want to put in other the name, we wanted price, remember all small case, and this would be an integer value which would represent the price, and then after price we would have quantity or stock that we had of it, so stock. It's not a nice way of, and this would be also an integer value. Okay, so that's all fine. We go apply, we then created product call was automatically created when I press tab. I don't like it when it does that, but it did do it. So I'm going to go apply, we then run that statement. Product table is now created. We are then going to create our other table. I'm going to pause this video while I do that, so it won't take away from my 20 minutes, 1 minute left, because I still bulk those in. But yeah, let me quickly create the other three tables. I think I'll keep this one with you, showing you, because there's something new here you haven't done. So client ID, so this is going to be a client table, and it's going to have a field, our column name here is going to be C_ID. This is going to be an auto increment ID, and as you press the AI here, that means it will automatically increment the number. I'll pause for the rest. Okay, I've created my three tables, 28 minutes left, and what you'll see here is my client, product, and sale table. What I suggest you do is you create some example data just to allow yourself to work with. So I'm going to have Tom, the balance of 1,000, balance of 500, and Harry with a balance of 750. Okay, so we click apply. It would then generate those fields. It would automatically give it a C_ID. We want to do the same for products, so I right click on the table, I go select rows. I can then go and give it a name. So the name of this product would be bar 1, for example. Price 10, stock we've got 140 of them. We've got bacon, I suppose bacon rolls. That's we've got 5, price 15, stock 40, whatever, so forth. Okay, so let's create one more, and we'll do this as Coke 10, 100. Okay, apply, finish. Okay, so we added there. I'm not gonna, and sales we'll do the same. Now when you import for sales, so right click, select rows. When you import for sales, very important that you do refer to something that actually does exist. It's because remember it's a foreign key, so I'm referring to a product that exists in this table, and you must make sure it's case sensitive, so that Coke is referring to Coke. And same here with client FK, this would be referring to the primary key, which is the CID. So we'll say that get rid of that there, 2 and quantity of, he bought 3 Cokes, bought bacon rolls. I think I wrote bacon rolls incorrectly, so maybe I should leave it at something easier, bar 1. Make sure that it is exactly correct, otherwise it will not work. Client FK 2, quantity 2. Let's do another Coke, client FK 1, quantity 2. Okay, so we just got some example data. That's all we really need. I'm not going to do too much example data, it's not needed. You guys potentially would need to add a little bit more than this. As I say, I'm doing this now in 21 minutes remaining. Alright, so all the data has been entered here. We've got the table, the structure is here, we're happy. This is good. Okay, so now what I'm going to show you what to do. First things first, I'm going to create my project in NetBeans. So in NetBeans, let's close all my other projects for now. A new project, and I'm going to create a project, Java application. I'm going to create one called Tuck Shop Quick. Okay, it's a Tuck Shop Quick example. It is going to be created on your on my Google Share under IT General Resources under example projects, Java projects by Craig Bradley. It will be created there. It's going to be called Tuck Shop Quick. I'm not going to create a main class. Finish. Now, as soon as I create my project, there's obviously a shared folder on there. What I suggest you do is you immediately export your database into that project. And what this means is that you can then, when you copy this across to home, or when you take this anywhere else, you can import the database and then work with the data from home. Because obviously you will be working on a complete separate server. And this is created inside the MySQL server that's been installed on here, so it's difficult to retrieve. So what you do is you go to server and you go data export. So this is how you transport your database. So I go server data export. On the data export, I'm going to export a self-contained file. So see, it's option to export a dump project folder. You can do that as well. I prefer just using the self-contained file. You would tick the database you want to work with. You guys would have fewer databases, but you tick the one that you want to export. You then choose where you want to export it to, and I would suggest you export it to the same location where you created your project. So in my case, it's Tuck Shop Quick. So inside my Tuck Shop Quick project folder, I am going to create a database dash Tuck Shop. So this is going to be my export. So if I save it here, and now I'll go start export. So I've gone into, remember, server data export. I've then ticked the database I want exported. You can also choose how you want to do, if you want to dump events, etc, etc, etc. Your choice on what you want to do with this. I'm going to click start export, and then you should see it will say successfully export has finished. And now if I go to my project folder, which has it, so Google Share, IT General Resources, Example Projects, Java Projects by Craig Bradley, you'll see there Tuck Shop Quick. Inside there is a .SQL file that I could then, from home or wherever else I want to import it, I would just go server, data import, and you'd do the exact, you would import from self-contained file, and you'll browse for that self-contained file. When you submit your project, I would expect you to do that, because for me to run the project on my system, I would need to import your database to work with, if this makes clear. So you have to include your .SQL inside your project folder for the final project you submit. Okay, so we've got that available for us to import and export in different locations, but now now we've got to start working with our actual project. Again, we go back to our class design, or our structure that we set up in Excel, and you'll see that in Excel I've got the product, client, sales, and Tuck Manager. I would actually first design sale before I design client, because a client requires an array of sale. So I'm going to go and code that quickly. It shouldn't take too long. So we're just going to go right click, new Java class. We're going to create a package. I'm going to call it Pacman because I can, and we are going to design those classes. I'm going to pause for while I design these classes. You all know how to create base classes. I'll only unpause when it comes to creating an array and that kind of stuff. Quickly pause. Just a reminder, when you create your classes, always create your constructors, your toStrings, your setters and getters, all of that. A quick thing here, I actually, in my plan that I made out quickly, I made it as a string data type in my sales, so that it would refer to the product name. There's absolutely no reason why you can't actually refer to the product data type here, so that literally the sale will also contain the product which was sold. And the reason why here is remember, when you pass classes through to, you just pass a memory reference to it, so it wouldn't create duplicate classes and use up a lot of RAM. It would literally just make multiple locations where you could refer to the same object. So that's quite an important concept here. Okay, I'm going to go through with you creating the client class, because the client class requires an array of the of your sales class. An important thing when working with the client class is that you need to firstly create your unique identifier for your clients, and that was about it that we needed there. We also needed the balance of the user as an integer and the name of the actual user. So the first thing I'm going to do is just create the basic static usual sort of fields. I'm then going to create an array of my sales. Now remember, when you create an array of your sales, you'd give it data type, so you'd give it sale, square brackets, sales, and then you need to give it its size. So we give it just a massive size, so I'm just going to say 500, and then we would create a num sales, or a counter, to keep track of the number of sales we've got there. The moment you create an array, you know you are going to need a public, going to need an add method. So you're going to need an add sales method. And remember, your add sales method would always receive the exact same parameters as your fully parameterized constructor in your sale class. So it would have to receive the ID, the quantity, and the product. So we go there and we put that through, and then we'll need the same thing with our, and we would go sales, position num sales equals new sales, sale, and you send that through. And the same thing goes for, and you need to increment it. Okay, so we know that we need that. As soon as you've got an array, you need to create a method that will allow you to add an object to that array. Now, in our constructor here, yes, we need to receive CID, yes, we need to receive balance, yes, we need to receive name, and we do not need to receive num sales, because num sales will always start off at 0. So we'll need to receive through our client's information, but we will not need to receive through our number of sales. The reason why is our number of sales will automatically start off at 0. It doesn't exist yet, and there are no sales that are currently being made. So what we would need to do is we would need to read from the database the sales we want. What you can do at this stage, I'm just going to write the SQL statement as a comment. So we would need to run select, we would need this. If we go back to our database, you'll see our sales here. We will need to select SID product underscore FK. Ooh, interesting. That we would actually need to receive through. This is going to make it interesting because my product is actually inside my other balance. So I'm going to have to actually also receive information about the product because I made my sale contain the product. I would have to create a method inside my main class or something to be able to receive a product. I'm going to change this back to just receive a string through. The reason why is it would make my project a little bit more challenging for this kind of time period that I have available here. So I'm just going to change the data types of this here to string, and then this would just be referring to, and we'll deal with it at a later stage. Okay, so I'm reverting this back to being a string data type, and then what we would do is we would deal with that at an earlier point. We would have to refer to which product it's referring to. So string is fine. Okay, so I'll just go select C underscore ID, comma, product, we would need quantity, so the quantity in the field is called quantity, and we would need to select the product underscore FK. So we would need those things from my table, and my table's name is sale. I think I call it sale, or I call it sales. I called it sale. Okay, so select so that's, and we would want to retrieve that, and we would have to loop through it and add to our sales from the database. And I'm going to go through that at a later stage. So that's the select statement we need there. And here we would read a big statement here is we would say where client underscore FK is equal to the C underscore ID. So this would then retrieve all, this would add a string which would select all clients from, all sales that were equal to that client. So all sales that client made. So we've just made an SQL statement. You guys should know this SQL statement. All I'm doing is I'm retrieving the data from the sale table which this client referred to. So that's all I've done there. Now we actually need to okay, so we'll come back to this once we connect to the database, and I'll show you how that item works. We'll come back to the loading. I'm just going to create this rest of the setters and getters in here for now, and I'll pause the video for that. Comes the tricky part, creating the actual manager, and the job of this class is actually to manage the whole entire tuck shop. So it's quite an important back end class. So this is my tuck shop manager, and what we're going to do here is we're going to have an array of the products, and that will be read from the database. And again, remember, as soon as you create an array of something, you must create an add method. So we're going to create a product, we must make it private, product array products is equal to new product array, size 500, we create a counter, num products, semicolon. We then need to create a client class. This would be the actual client who is logged into this, where we have swiped his card. So client C clients, like a small case for the instance, semicolon, and then we need a, okay, no, that's it. So that's all we need in our Tuckshop manager. So we're going to create our default constructor. In our default constructor, from the database, we would need to read all our products. So I'm going to create an SQL statement. Hey, the bell went at 20 past. I thought I had 10 minutes left till. Okay, well, I'll have to find another 10 minutes elsewhere to finish this. But yeah. Okay, well, let's just go until I need to be somewhere. Okay, string SQL is equal to, so we're going to select what do we need from here? From the product, we need the name, comma, price, comma, stock. From product table, we don't need a where statement here. We're literally just going to read every single product into the database. And remember, we needed a add field, so public void add product. Again, we can just copy and paste from our fully parameterized constructor in our product class. So copy, paste, and that's the parameters we're going to need through there. We are going to go product at position num products is equal to new product, and you would send through that stuff. You would increment your number of products. Done. Now the next thing we would need to do, so this section here we would read from the database, so read from database into array. Now in the next part, at the beginning we can assume that no clients have logged on yet. When a client logs on, we need to actually introduce our clients. So I'm going to create a method, and we need a method that the client logs on. So public void client logged on. Now in this method client logged on, we need to receive through an integer of the client's ID, and this would receive through the client's ID or the card ID or whichever is of, so in your guys' case it would be the pupil number, and what you would do here is you would just go and you would say client is equal to new client. Now here's an interesting concept. I could retrieve data of the client here, or I could just send through the client's ID. So I could create inside, and this is I think a better concept, inside my client class I am just going to create a constructor that would only receive through the client's ID, and then on here I would read the rest of the information from the database. Okay, so this section here, when I receive through the ID, I would retrieve it from the database. I must get going for now. I'll finish this off in a couple of moments when I get back from the meeting. Alright, so 9 minutes according to the schedule. If I can get this done in half an hour, I'll do pretty well for you. Alright, okay, we got the sales array, and we added our sales to the client, and we could read through here the rest of the information from the database. In the meantime, I'm going to create my SQL statement here for how I would receive it. So I'll just go select, actually need inverted commas here. I didn't open them here either. Okay, so how I'd retrieve it from the database is I would go select star from, that's not a star, select. We are now talking about running the client's information, so we want to select name, comma, and balance from client table where C underscore ID is equal to the client's ID that has been sent through, and that would then retrieve that information. We would then add it to the array from here. Okay, so we just changed the way that we received it from the database. We would receive through the client's ID here, and then we would load that from inside my client class. You could have done it equally as easily inside your Tuckshop manager as well. It really doesn't matter. Okay, so let's take a look at this. Now, the next thing we're going to need to do is you need to create a class called DBManager. Now on your guys' shared drive under your general sources, under code segments, you'll see a class there that's called DBMan. Capital D, capital B, capital Man. Okay, so I want to create a class called DBMan, and I think the easiest way to do it is you just literally create a new class called DBMan. So I'll right click new Java class, and we call it with the exact same casing as what I called it there. So capital D, capital B, capital Man. Finish. And inside that DBMan, all we're going to do is we're going to copy and paste the imports, because these are the imports that we are going to be using. So copy and paste imports under the package. So we're going to keep those imports. We haven't used them yet. And then we're just going to copy and paste our full thing here. Now what you'll notice with this class structure is that my I actually wonder if I can do this. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I can't make my constructor static. What I'm going to do, I'm going to update this method here, because quite frankly we're dealing with all of these. We're dealing with static, but here we're dealing with a non-static. So I'm going to create a method called public static. I'm going to pause this video because this is copy and paste stuff that I'm going to have here. I'm just going to change it slightly, and you guys would just copy and paste it, because the connection itself you don't need to really worry about. It's just the using of the connection. You would copy and paste this class here. I'm just updating it a little bit so that it will be easier for you to use. Okay, so all I've got here is you'll see that all of the methods here are static, which means that you can refer to them without creating an instance of DBMan. And I've done that because we don't need to, you don't have a need, as long as you make sure that a connection is open beforehand, you'll be querying it from different locations inside your working classes. So it'll make your life easier as far as that's concerned. One thing you have to make sure is that the connection has been opened before you use it. So what I would suggest is in my constructor of my tuck shop manager, before we do anything, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to open the connection to our database. So I'm going to call the open connection now. You'll notice there that it does come up with a red underline, and the reason why is because there's an unreported exception. My DBManager class will throw an SQL exception if there's an error with the connection to the database. So you need to handle that. So I would just click on the red dots, and you can say surround block or statement with try catch. I'm going to surround the whole block with try catch. Very important that you do always display the error message. I would suggest you do two. You display one error to the programmer, error which would contain more detail, would contain maybe more detail that only a programmer would understand, and you would always print out the actual error message. If you don't print out the error message, you won't actually understand where it's happening or why it's happening. And I would also suggest giving the user some form of error message. You could actually throw this again and handle it later, but I'm just going to handle it directly here, and I'm going to say and have some meaningful error message. In this case it's not that meaningful, but whatever. Okay, make sure you just include the EX over here, and this would handle the exception that occurs. The next important thing here, I'm just going to pause. I've got a Skype message I might need to handle, you know, for social. Alright, so the next thing that we've got here is we've opened the connection database. Remember, all I did is I copied and pasted all the code in here, and then I've run the open connection. So the connection is now open. We now actually want to do the various things we've said we wanted to do here. So the first thing we wanted to do is inside our tuck shop manager, we wanted to read from our database and add into my product array. So all I'm going to do as far as that is concerned is I'm going to go, I've created my SQL statement, that's it over here. I just now create it as the actual SQL statement. I am then going to go and I want to read it from the array. So now I actually want to read it. So I go and I create a result set. So we import java.sql. Let me zoom in on this so that you guys can see it a bit better. That was a bit of a fail. Don't zoom in on that, you stupid kid. Yeah, so result set, you go to the result set option, you make sure you import it. Remember, use your control spacebar. If it's not imported, it will not work. Result is equal to dbman.query. So I'm just using my dbman, and I can, the .query method, if you guys take a look in your DB manager, will return the result set, which I can now use. So the result set is stored inside results. Now, you can look at this very similar to the way you look at a scanner reading from a text file. DBMail is like my database, or my file in this case. My result set is kind of like my scanner able to work through it. So we want to loop through the results, so we're going to go while result.next, and what this does, it is important. Even if you only got one record, you need to do this. It starts off record 0, in other words, not even a record. It starts before the table that has been returned. .next says, is there a next record? If there is a next record, move to the next record. And now you're currently on the next record. And while you're on that next record, what we want to do is we want to add product. So we need the name, so we got string name is equal to result.get string, and the name of the field that we want is name. We've got int price and the name of that field, so we go .get int, and we say .get int, we want to get int of the price, and then we want to get the stock, so int stock is equal to result.get int, and we want to get the stock. So that's going to get the three things from our database. Notice that get a string would return a string data type, and we just refer to the field name. It doesn't have to be in order. I could have done it in the opposite order. The order doesn't matter. It just matters what field name you put in there, and that would return it into this variable. Now that I've done that, I'll just run my add product method, and that would add it into the array here. Okay, I'm then going to go ahead and create my method, a couple of methods here. Okay, let's actually just leave that for now. Okay, well, let's do the client. Now here we want to read from the database. We want to get the sales for that. So we create our SQL statement, which we've already created there. Remember, we created that SQL statement earlier because we knew we needed to retrieve the sales that this and this should be SID, not CID, because we want to receive the sale ID from where client's FK is equal to client's ID. So we're going to receive all the client sales from this. So same thing goes here. We create a result set. I'm going to repeat this on the video so that you guys know it. Result is equal to dbman.query. We send through that SQL statement. Again, it's going to give me a red underline because I haven't handled the SQL exception. A query will throw an SQL exception. We're then going to surround the block with the try catch. Inside the catch, I am going to make sure I give an error to the programmer. Error in client constructor. I've got two client orders here. I don't like that. I'm actually just going to delete this one. I don't want this one at all. I'm going to wanting to do it here. I'm only going to be creating this one here. Oh. Before I do that, let me copy and paste this SQL statement because this is useful, because we're going to need that still. Okay, so the first thing we're wanting to do is we are wanting to receive the client's information. So the SQL statement, we want to do that, is we want to get the name and the balance from that client. And then afterwards we're wanting to do that. So here we've got a situation where we've got two different select statements that we want to happen. This one is only going to return one record. So here we're going to go result set result is equal to dbman.query, and we are going to run that SQL statement. Here we're only expecting one result set to be given. So because there's only one, we still have to go result.next. So we get one information, but we have to do the result.next, otherwise it's not actually pointing to a record. So I'm going to go if result.next, so not while result.next, because we're not expecting to have, you shouldn't have ever more than one result in this case of that client. There is only one client here. Your CID is your primary key. So I'm then going to go string name. Sorry, we've actually got the fields up here, balance and name. So we can just go name is equal to result.get string, and we're going to send through the name field. So that would just get the name from there. We are then going to go balance is equal to result.get int, and we are going to send through the balance. So that would get the balance updated from the database. Done. So we send through the ID that we read. So whoever logs in would swipe his ID, it will be sent through to here, it reads it from the database, loads in him. We now need to load the actual sales. But now we've already got a result, so we can reuse that result. We don't need it again. So we got result is equal to dbman.query. So now we're changing that result set to be now with this SQL statement results. Now this one's going to have multiple results, so we go while result.next, and on this result.next, while we're looping that, we're going to need a string. So we need integer sales ID is equal to result.getInt, and we're going to then get the sales ID from the database. We are then going to get the quantity from the database, so that would be result.getString, and that would be your quantity is an integer, isn't it? Silly me. Apologize profusely. And the product fk is a string, so string product equals result dot get string okay, typing is slowing me down here. Alright, okay, so we've done that. We've got the statement where we are now getting those three fields. We now would just run our add sales method. So that's very handy to have created this. So now this, when I run this program, as soon as I create the tuck shop manager, it would load all the products. We now in our client login, that will log on the clients and would load all the sales of that client. So we've got the basic connection to our database now, but now we actually need to get some methods that will allow it to work, to allow us to actually have some form of structure here. So now we have to create our user interface. Now you guys would have already planned your user interface and already probably designed it. I haven't done that yet. So let's give a rough idea of how we want our user interface to look. So I'm going to use my trusted Excel spreadsheet here, and we're going to come up with a rough idea on the user interface. My kind of idea here is I'm going to have a list of products on the left hand side here, just with product names. I'm thinking, so this would be a J list with product names here. So I'm going to come up with some example data. So we'd have Coke, bar one, whatever. So we'll just list the products down here. So all the way down the bottom here, this would be a what do you call it? Damn it, a list. I knew it somewhere. So there would be a title of products, and then there would be a list of products. When I select one product, I would want the information of that product to be displayed somewhere. So let's say like roughly here, more details about the product would be displayed here. Potentially then what would happen is the client would have to scan in his ID. So we'd need some form of input to scan his ID. So perhaps make it a default text box here where his ID would be scanned into, and that would be defaultly selected. So when you scan, it would automatically be scanned in there with the scanner input. So I'm going to put that over here, and then when the user does that, it would give the client information over here, and potentially maybe overall balance of the client that's currently on there would be given over here, and a list of all his sale records perhaps over here. Okay, so there'll be a list then of all his sale records over here. So in which case this would also be perhaps look slightly bigger. So let's just do that. I want to get rid of the inner circles here, so let's just quickly do that. Okay, so I've come up with a general, a rough sort of plan on how my table is going to look. And over here, this would be sales, client sales. Okay, and here would be the client's ID that would be scanned in defaultly. This would be product info. So as soon as we load, so this would have the things like the name of the product, the price of the product, and the stock of the product. So let's say the stock over here. And in here would be the client's information, so it would be the name of the client, the current, well, the balance is shown at the bottom right here, so I don't think that it's needed here. What other information did we have of the clients? That was actually it. So we could actually literally just display the name of the client in here, that's fine. Okay, so here's a rough GUI design, but now we have to need to be able to actually design it. So I don't know how I'm doing time-wise. I think I'm actually nearly, my 30 minutes of actual coding time is nearly up. But let's quickly create the user interface. Alright, so we're going to go to my tuck shop quick, and we're going to go right-click, new, and we're going to create a JFrame. Now on that JFrame, what we're going to do is we're going to call it my user interface, finish. Okay, so on my user interface, first things first, I take a look at my layouts. I think it'll be best border because I would only want the central part to expand. These I want to be set standard size. These things I don't want to change sizes. So client, sales, and products on one side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the layout to be a grid layout. Actually not grid layout, I lie. I'm going to set the layout to be a border layout. Border layout allows for north, east, south, west. I've gone through a lot of these layouts already with you guys, so I don't need to re-go over that. So I'm going to put a panel on the left, a panel on the right, and a panel in the center. Okay, so now my left panel I need to work with first. This is my panel product, so I'm going to change the variable name, and I'm going to call it pan product. And this is going to have all the product details, and as soon as you select a product, it would come up with information over here. So the middle product is going to be pan details, and the right one is going to be pan client sales. Did I actually just name them the wrong way around? Oops. Okay, so this one is pan client sales. I'm going to call it that because otherwise it will be the same name as this. Pan details. So that's more specific details. Alright, okay, so this panel here, we want to put a label at the top so that we can show what's going on. So I'm going to set the layout here to be border layout again. I'll show you why now. In the border layout, you'll see that it disappears automatically. You just double click on it if you want to design it specifically. So now that I've double clicked on it, I'm going to put a label at the top, and at the top this label is just going to say product. I would change the alignment of it, but quite frankly I'm in a rush, so I'm not going to do this one. Then I'm going to go and create a list. The list would be at the bottom. This would contain all the information of the actual products. Because this is a action element, an element that's going to change through code, and people are going to have to select it, I'm going to have to name it. So I'm going to call it LST product, LST products, not LSD products. And I'm now going to have to design the rest of my class. So let's go into here, my main, let's do this one as well, because this one's going to be pretty much the same, barring the fact that there's going to be a display of the total balance at the bottom. So here I'm going to set the layout to be border layout again, and I'm going to design it very similarly to what I did previously, barring one thing. I'm going to put a label at the top which will say client sales. I'm then going to put a panel in the north bridge, north layout, because this is where I would want to display the actual total cost or whatever. So, or I could even just make it a label as well. Funny enough, I'll do that by text. That actually might be easier. Okay, so I'm just going to put a label at the bottom. So at the top, it's going to display client sales. So now it's what he's bought, and at the bottom here it would be balance, and then we would display the total amount. This again is an element that we would change through code, so I'm going to change the variable to LBL balance. And then over here we would want a list, so I'm going to put a list there. Okay, again action elements, so I would call it LST client sales. Now that we've done that, you'll see that I'll go back to my mainframe. We want to get our central part working. If we look at our Excel spreadsheet, we want to have basically two different structures, one with the client's ID where they can scan it in, and one with the product information. And I think we could pretty much break that 50-50, because we could potentially later add a picture here, which is easy enough, and we could add more information about the client that we would want to have. So in a real program I would add more information here, so I'm happy with making it 50-50. And potentially at a stage I will actually expand on this and do some more cool stuff in here. Alright, so we're going to set layout to be a grid layout, and we are going to set this layout to be one column, 2 rows, so it's a 50-50. Okay, and we're going to add 2 panels to this, so one panel, and we're going to add another panel. Now you see, because I've already added a panel, it's not going to allow me to add a panel. I add the panel inside the panel instead of the panel within the panel. It's confusing. But basically now if I add it inside, I can literally use my whatever the hell you call this, navigator, and then now you see it will be split there. Okay, my grid layout was wrong. I should have one column, not 2 rows, not 2 vertical gap. That was the reason why that happened. My bad. Okay, so now you'll see that I've got my 2 panels here, one above each other. This panel is going to be my product information panel, and what I could actually do is just change my border to be a title border, and in the title I'm going to call this a product information. Okay, and then you'll see it'll give product information at the bottom here. Here I want actual client information. So again, change the border type to be a title border, and we're going to say here client. Okay, so we've done that. You will save it, and now here we would want to display the various product information. So in this we would want the product name, followed by which we would want to actually add the product name. So I'm just making a label. I made it a label because we are going to change it via code. The user is not going to be inputting this, so we might as well make it a label. I'm going to change the label to be LBL product name, so that we know if we need to work with it, we can just work with that. I'm going to change the text to be blank for now. One thing about that, I'm actually going to undo what I just did there. I would perhaps just leave it blank like this, because as soon as you load it, would load it anyway. I would maybe just change it to an underscore or something along those lines, so it would keep the heights of the object correct. Alright, name, what other product information do we have? I can't remember. Name, price, and stock. Okay, so I'm just going to lay them out next to each other. This is just a free design. Free design is the easiest to use. A name, price, and we'll add another label, actual price. Okay, I'm just going to finish designing this. I don't need to put this in the recording, so I'm just going to finish dragging and dropping these little weird things in. Alright, so I've created my user interface, very, very basic. You'll see there's no button, and the reason why I've done that is I'm actually going to make it so as soon as the user types here or changes the type there, and the card scanner would automatically enter all like 5 numbers kind of at once. But if there is nothing returned, I'll just make sure it would handle it. In other words, if that client doesn't exist, in other words, the user's still busy typing it in, it wouldn't load it. Only once it's found the client will it load it. That kind of thing. Alright, so we've got our basic layout of our design here, but now how would we, and we would need to work with our tuck shop manager, which will read from the database, and now we need to put it into our UI. So how does that work? Firstly, our user interface here is our main class, so this is where it's going to run from. You'll see that because of the public static void main string args at the bottom here, creates an instance of the UI. So UI becomes an object, so we can create fields here inside our UI. And one of the fields that we need to create is our tuck shop manager, like we do with our exams and tests and all that kind of stuff. So we're just going to call it tuck shop semicolon. Now after my init components, I'm just going to init my tuck shop is equal to new tuck shop manager, which would then open up the instance of the database and allow me to work with it. So the first thing we want to do is we want to actually populate this list over here on the left hand side. Now, I always suggest, considering we've named it correctly to list products, we can actually find it here at the bottom, and there's example list data in there. So if we're looking for list products, here's list products here. Now, this is how it set its model, and it worked with the model, etc., etc., etc. It's kind of relatively complicated in the fact that it's working with its model and it's different items like this, but you don't actually really know that. You just go, okay, the list has been populated with item 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but now instead of it being populated with that string array, I wanted it populated with my set of products. So all you do is you copy, you paste. I'm actually going to create a private method called private pop products. So this is going to populate the products table, and the reason why I do that is because what if I need to call it again? So for example, when I create later in this program, I need to create an add product frame and all that kind of stuff. I would need to, after I added the product, I would need to run this method so that would update the products that are in there, so the user can see that it's been done. So that's why I've created it as a method. So I'm just going to paste it into there. Now instead of this string here, I want to use a string of the actual products that we have. So what we do is we go to my tuck shop manager and we create a method going public string array, because that's what we needed. We needed a string array. If you saw what was populated with on here, it used a string array. So we need to create a string array. Get products. And what we're going to do there is we're going to return, we're going to create a string array called products. Actually, let me call it just p, whatever, is equal to new string array, and we are going to make that size num products because that's the number of products we have. We are then going to return the p. Now, in here we're just going to go, we're going to loop through our products, and not p.length, we're going to loop through until num product. So exactly like we would do a toString or anything else, we're just looping through our products array, but now all we're doing is we're saying p position I is equal to products position I dot get name. So all we're doing is we're creating a string array just of the names of the products, so no other details, just the names. So that's literally just returning a single field from an array of products. I would also suggest, and I'm going to explain why I'm doing this just now, is to create a get I'm going to create a method called getProduct, which will receive the unique identifier, which in this case is the name of the product, and it would return the individual instance of that product. Now the reason why I do this is later on we would need to get specific details of individual products, and that's going to be easy enough with the getProduct. We just need to create a search function here. So all we're going to do is we're going to go, I'm going to start off by just saying return null, and then I'm going to create a loop. I'm going to go forward tab. Again, I'm going to loop through my num products, and then I just go if products position I dot get name dot equals name. So if it is equal to that, return products position I. So all I'm doing here is I'm creating a search that if I find that name inside this array, I return that. If I don't, I return null. So that's easy enough. It's a search method. You can look through it and make sense of it, but that's a search method. I know I'm going to need that at a later stage, so that's fine. Okay, so now in my user interface, all I would do here is when I get my products or populate my products, instead of this, I would just go tuckshop dot get products, and that would return a string array. It would then add it to that list. Done. So inside my constructor, I would just go populate products, and that would then populate the products. Something I'm not sure if we're going to need in the newer version of NetBeans. Let's just see if it is the case, but I might need to import a class. Let's just test if this works. But I'm there with it connecting to an SQL database. Yeah, I need to. No suitable driver found for the host. It gave me this error. SQL exception, no suitable driver to enter the host. Now the reason why it's done that is we are connecting to a database here. The database that we're connecting to, I didn't finish this database connection manager. I got distracted with the user interface. It happens, I'm sorry. Okay, so this part is now working with my database connection. We haven't actually opened up the host yet. So what we'll do is we'll, in the services on the right hand side, so project services, you would right click on your tuckshop and you would go connect. When you go connect, you'll see there that there is, if you go right click on that, it will open up a new connection here at the bottom. If you right click and go properties, it'll give you a URL to the database. You would copy this, so Control C, it doesn't give you a right click copy option, so Control C, and you would paste this into your host. Defaultly, you guys should leave everything as just being root username, root password, and that's what it should be. So we just delete this database URL part and leave this whole connection string. Technically, we would only need up to this tuckshop part. We don't need this part at the end, but it doesn't matter if you just leave it, okay? And this would make your connection fine. But another issue is it's still going to give me, so that's pointing to the correct database, the connection. But it's still going to give me an error. And the reason why it gives me the error is because it's not working with a normal database system. MySQL is not Java database. A Java database here, Java DB, that's built into Java. But MySQL is actually a separate entity. It's a separate driver to be able to work with it. So we have to actually include that driver into our project. To do that, you right click on your project, you go to properties, and under libraries, you go to add JAR folder. Now, on your IT General Resources, there's a folder called plugins. Inside there's a MySQL connector-java. You're also welcome to download the new one. You just Google search for it, a MySQL connector Java, and you will find it. It's a .jar file that will allow you to create the driver that allows you to connect to a MySQL database. We click open, we go OK. Now that driver has been added to my project, so it will now know how to connect to an array. So you copy and paste the host, so services, you connect, you right click properties, you get the host name, or you just rewind this video and play it again. So I don't need to repeat it. Alright, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to press play, see if it works. Okay, yay, it works. So you'll see now on here I've got my bacon rolls, bar 1, Coke. A couple of little user interface admin parts before we move on. In this situation, I don't want to have to code. You'll notice that I'm able to select, when I play it, you'll notice I'm able to select multiple, yeah, you'll notice I'm able to select multiple fields, but I'm not going to be able to display multiple of them here. So that's going to make my life awkward and difficult. So that's not cool. So what we're going to do is you would go to your properties here and you can change things like multiple interval, so you can change it to single. So it'll only allow you to select single. Obviously we're also going to actually have to have a button here that will allow me to purchase, and we would need a spinner. Let me actually just add a spinner, not a J spinner, because the J spinners are weird. Okay, a spinner that would say quantity. So here we would say buy. So it would allow me to buy a quantity of whatever product. Okay, that I forgot about, but yeah, whatever. We're just going to get through the proper loading, and we'll do the update stuff now. Alright, so what we're going to do, first things first, we're going to go to our source code. I think that's actually, I'm going to stop this video here. I've had my 30 minutes, I've had 35 minutes actually, bad me. So I've been working for 35 minutes on this video. I think this is enough. It shows you how you can read information from the database. I'll do a second part of the video on how to get the update working, and I'll submit that to you during the week next week. Okay, thank you.